So good morning, parents, students, and Nubi Education partner boarding school representatives. My name is Anne-Marie Abebe. I'm the student placement manager at Nubi Education, and I am going to be moderating the information session and panel discussion today. We have a total of 5 UK boarding schools participating in this session. They are going to introduce their schools, and they are also going to provide updates on the measures they have put in place in view of the coronavirus pandemic in order to safeguard children come September 2020, and also provide them with quality education. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our boarding school representatives. We've got Henrietta Lightwood, who is the Marketing and Admissions Director for Duke's Education Group. Hello, Henrietta.
Hello, hi Rose. Hello, all. Hope you're all kind of all well. Hello, Anne-Marie. Thank you. Yes, I work for kind of Sixth Form College in Earlscliffe and Rochester in Fine Arts, which is part of Duke's Education.
Thank you so much, Henrietta. We've also got James Barton, who's the Director of Admission for MPW London. Hello, James.
Hello, good morning. Hello to everyone as well.
Good morning again. We've got Julian Node, who's the Headmaster at Oswestry School. Hello, Julian.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. We've got Kevin Sampson, who's the Co-Principal at Buxwood School.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Hello,
good morning.
How are you doing? Good.
Very well, thank you. We've got Mark James, who's the Director at Padworth College. Hello, Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Thank you so much. So once again, thank you to our parents and boarding school representatives for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend this time with us. I am now going to pass across to the Nubi Education Executive Director, Mrs. Rose Omonubi.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And good morning, everybody. I believe we are on the same time zone with you, so I could say good morning and I welcome everybody to this great event. The parents who have taken time to come and the boarding school providers. I always say that it is not an easy thing to get the boarding schools out of their comfort zone, but, but you are out today and we appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming. This session was necessary. It's necessary because we all know the season we are now. We are all going through difficult times, and parents, and rightly so, are very worried. They are very concerned. Some of them already have offers, have admissions. Some of them have paid their fees, but they are still worried because they are worried about the safety of their children, and they want to know how prepared the schools are for the children to come in September. And they also want to know that the environment is safe for them, and the mode of delivery that the schools have, whether it's going to be online, whether it's going to be blended, whether it's going to be face-to-face. These are the questions that parents are asking. And we thought that it is good because we are in it together. We are in this together. If we don't have students, you don't have students. So we just thought that, okay, we bring the stakeholders together so they can answer all these questions, and people will be able to make decisions, informed decisions. And that is why we are here today. And I hope that by the time we finish, everybody will know where they're going. They will be able to know, because they are hearing directly from you. It's not what I'm telling them because I want them to go to UK. They are getting the right information. So I wish everybody a very successful informative session. And Marie, over to you now. Have we lost her?
Thank you very much, Ma. So I just like to mention some house rules. So each of our boarding school representatives have 10 minutes to make their presentations. And once the presentations have been concluded, we will move on to the question and answer panel discussion. There's a chat box at the bottom of your screen for parents and students. So whilst the presentations are ongoing, you may type in your questions, and after the presentations, I will then address your questions to the delegates. So without further ado, in no particular order, I would like to call on the first presenter. So Henrietta Lightwood, I was wondering if you could please start.
Yes, of course. Can I share my screen? I think you might need to enable me if that's okay, Anne-Marie.
Yes, you're able to do so.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think
I'll
you might
just
need
do
to
that. Yes, I'll do that right away. Okay, yes, I've done that.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Well, I'm hoping that everybody is going to be able to see my screen. So
yes, we can see it. We can see Cardiff Sixth Form College.
Fantastic. So this is really, I'm mostly going to talk about Cardiff this morning, but a lot of the safety precautions are actually happening group-wide. So whether your children are going to Earlscliffe or Rochester, they're very, very similar. So just very briefly, Cardiff is known really for being the top performing A-level school really over the last 10 years. So really, it's a school that's suitable for for bright students who are looking generally to go on to top universities, Oxford and Cambridge, Imperial College, really, and want to get some very, very good grades with really excellent teaching. And that's really what Cardiff really specialises in. So there's some pretty outstanding results, as you can see, with kind of 90% getting all A stars and A's last year. We await till the 13th of August to see what's happening this year, but it's all looking good so far. And that's the rankings really. If you look over the past 5 years, for instance, and how the schools have performed, that will give you a very good idea of the top 7 schools in the UK. University destinations, as I said, we have kind of a fair amount going to top universities. 100% of ours go on to top Russell Group universities, not all in the UK, some in the US, some in Hong Kong, for instance, to do medical or dentistry courses, and some other places around the world. But it gives you a very good idea about the kinds of places that people are going to, and then the kinds of subjects that they're wanting to study. So 32 of our students went on to do medicine. For instance, engineering is very strong at Cardiff, so 14 went on to Imperial College, for instance, particularly to do engineering, which is very top. Economics, again, a lot of people who want to do business and economics going into the city, looking at banking, will go on to places like London School of Economics. In terms of IGCSE, we launched our IGCSE, and our first cohort of IGCSE students, which is a 1-year GCSE course, starts in year 11. Actually, we topped the small schools league tables on the IGCSE. They did incredibly well, and that's the Telegraph, which is our major national newspaper, which showed how well the GCSE students did. It's very interesting, actually. Cardiff has really kind of got 4 parts to its curriculum. So in terms of the academic courses, obviously it's A-levels or GCSEs. We also, in collaboration with Earlscliffe, now do a 1-year foundation course for people who are wanting to do that. But really, we're backing it up with things like critical thinking, an extended project qualification, which will help give another half an A-level worth of points, art portfolios for those wanting to do things like design or architecture. And then we also do a lot of stuff in terms of practical courses, in terms of gaining skills really for careers in the workplace. So communications, leadership, entrepreneurship, we do, for instance, we have kind of Young Tycoon scheme, we have things like Model United Nations, European Youth Parliament, we do the Young Enterprise scheme, lots of different things which, if you like, help build these skills ready for students to then kind of go on to the universities that they would like to. and also help hugely with things like UCAS points and providing interest in terms of personal statements. Again, one of the really strong things about Cardiff Sixth Form College is its work experience programme. So we do both UK and international work experience. Our international work experience is in Tanzania, India, and Europe. And we also kind of do work experience in both October and February half terms every year to really make sure that our students have very, very strong CVs, if you like, for university. And they all have different career societies. So for instance, the medical career society, which will also include the veterinary scientists, for instance, the biochemists or the dentists, and we'll have a lot of speakers who come and speak to them about different areas of careers, for instance. We'll talk about things like medical ethics, what's happening in terms of medical research. There's lots of competitions we get people involved in. 3 out of 5 of the international debate team for Wales, for instance, are from Cardiff Sixth Form College, and they debate all over the world and in the Oxford and Cambridge competitions. We do a lot of enrichment trips to places like Iceland, and physics lot will go off to CERN. So it's a very wide international type experience and really an interim between school and university in many ways. The third part, the university preparation part, which again is really, really in-depth, because we start with a lot of students who have to apply by the 15th of October deadline for medical and Oxbridge courses. But we do a kind of 18-month programme, which includes mock interviews, admissions test preparation for the extra top university admissions exams. We bring in our colleagues from Duke's, Oxbridge and medical applications to come and give workshops. We bring our alumni back. We write personal statements, do interviews together, so that students are really, really well prepared with the specialist programmes that they need for medical and for Oxbridge degrees. One of the key things, of course, is the staff, the quality of the staff. They've all had probably at least 15 years experience. They've been heads of department, and they've kind of amassed a huge amount of online resources, for instance. So we were very well prepared, for instance, going through in March to kind of deal with COVID-19. We do weekly testing, and we have every half term we have big exams ready to prepare students and gathering data ready for their AS results or their AS exams in May and June, and then their A2s in the following May and June. And we do almost probably twice as much teaching as other schools. We do over 7 hours a day. And every day there is daily one-to-one support for students who don't understand things. In terms of pastoral care, really, really important. Cardiff has won actually awards for wellbeing and pastoral care, and has just actually about 2 days ago just been highlighted as the winner of the ISA Wellbeing and Pastoral Care Awards. So we take it very, very seriously, looking after our students, making sure they're okay, that they are looked after medically, with student counsellors, boarding with medical staff is really, really important. So accommodation is fantastic. It's university style. It's all single ensuite bedrooms. So the students are really, really lucky. They have absolutely amazing accommodation. And that again has been very, very key in terms of our COVID-19 planning, of course, when we will have students back in September. And I'll come on to that. There's also a whole range of, which lots of boarding schools, but a whole range of fantastic extracurricular activities. Every student is a member of the school gym. There are football clubs, netball clubs, basketball, badminton clubs. There's a very, very successful art and fashion club. There's a big major performance. For instance, there's lots of opportunities for music and dance. And then also we do a lot of things, as I've said before, like Model United Nations, critical thinking, debating competitions, which really help to hone skills, as well as are a very, very enjoyable part to be part of. It's based in Cardiff Sixth Form College. It is a small capital city. It's about 2.5 hours from London Heathrow, which is where most of our Nigerian and African students will fly into. And it's a very, very lively city. It has a big kind of international scene of music concerts and sport. Which happens, in lovely shopping, for instance, it's by the water, so there's a very nice big development called Cardiff Bay, which is excellent. So the students are able to walk right around. I just thought I'd share with you very briefly Tabitha, for instance, who was one of our Nigerian students who left last year. She was, for instance, I'm just going to mute Jacinda. She has been very, very successful in terms of, she got 3 A stars and an A, went off to Cambridge to do economics, for instance, and she was actually our head girl last year. So so she's been a really kind of good, successful Nigerian case study, for instance. Just kind of going on really then in terms of what we're doing in terms of COVID-19. Really our kind of key focus is delivering outstanding teaching and learning. So what we actually decided to do was put our August pre-sessional course, which we run in August, online this year. And so we're running a whole host of different online lessons. We've been running live lessons and flip lessons, which is where we teach first and then we give information out from a recorded point of view, and then we teach it when people have actually had a chance to take it in, if you like. And we've been running that really since March, so we haven't stopped. We're now running 8 weeks of free courses actually for our new students, because we've realised that quite a lot of them have missed a lot of learning. So we're still running that, and then we're running the pre-sessional August online. Then we're having everybody back physically on the 29th and 30th of August for physical teaching, because there's nothing like the fact that it is much, much more helpful, to be honest, to be able to teach people. Excuse me, sorry. Sorry, just bear with me. It's much better to actually be able to teach people, obviously physically in the classroom. There's a whole host of other things which are in terms of the UCAS preparation, in terms of the socialisation of students, that are really important to do in person. So currently in Wales, which has slightly different rules, if you like, to England. So just be very, very aware when you look at what's coming out of the English government, it doesn't always apply to Wales, for instance. So basically at the moment, Nigerian students have to isolate for 14 days. The Welsh Government has said that we can actually have students quarantining within the boarding houses. So actually what we're going to do is have people together as a family and quarantine as student bubbles. We are testing everybody as soon as they arrive. So we're picking up, that's why we've said the 29th and 30th of August, so we can pick absolutely everybody up from Heathrow and Bristol airports and invite with our college transport, and we will test everybody on arrival. When the results come out negative, which is actually obviously what we expect most people to, well, probably everybody actually to come out at, because it's likely that people either know they've got COVID-19 before they come, or by the time they've been through both Lagos or Abuja and Heathrow airports, they will have been temperature checked, so we'll actually know whether they've got any symptoms at all. But we will test them, and then we'll be able to take people straight into class. We'll then test again 2 weeks later, and all our staff will be tested prior to arrival. The college has obviously been through a huge amount of deep cleaning over the summer, so it will be absolutely kind of safe, and we're very confident we can keep people safe and secure. We've installed a thermal temperature scanner in reception, for instance, so we will be daily checking people for the temperature, and anyone who's got a high reading obviously will go straight to the desk, because we have on-site medical courses, medical centres, for instance. Generally for young people, obviously they are much less of a kind of like a serious risk unless they have underlying health problems. But generally the symptoms are temperature, high temperatures, tiredness and lack of taste and smell, for instance. So we will then isolate if anyone has COVID-19 within our boarding house, and we will, for instance, register everybody with a local doctor, and we can access all the NHS facilities for our students. So if that makes sense. In terms of PPE, hygiene and social distancing, we've ordered a whole load of branded masks, for instance, and PPE for our relevant staff. We will be reiterating how important hygiene and sanitisation is to all of our students in many ways. You know, assemblies, briefings, posters around the college. We will be always kind of making sure that people are washing their hands, and we'll have hand sanitisers in many strategic positions. We've also looked at how we can social distance in place around the college. At the moment, in the UK, the social distancing rules are 1 metre distance between people. And so we've been totally able to reconfigure our classrooms so that we can fit everybody in. And what we may do for a certain amount of time while we wait until some of the tests are back is that we might do an element of blended learning, where we may have half the class, for instance, and teach the other half online, just for the first couple of weeks. And we will go on to things like co-curricular trips, actually when it's safe to do so. But our primary concern obviously is just making sure that the teaching works well, that people are safe, that they're happy, and that they're looked after very, very well. It is, of course, a very changing situation. And all our parents are being sent big risk assessments when we know the situation to be more clear, if you like, in August, ready and prior to arrival. Hopefully that was 10 minutes.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Henrietta. I was taking notes whilst you were speaking. Congratulations to Cardiff Sixth Form College for winning the International School Award for Wellbeing and Pastoral Care Support. You know, we all know that Cardiff Sixth Form College is committed to delivering outstanding teaching and learning for students. But, you know, from your presentation, you know, I've learned, and I'm sure, you know, parents would also have picked up on the fact that you are committed to ensuring positive mental health for your students. You know, there's scientific research evidence that demonstrates when students feel happy and settled, and when they are looked after adequately, you know, they're productive in their studies and they thrive. So it's great to know that you know, your school has resources available to ensure that students fit into an inclusive and welcoming school environment. Thank you for that.
Yes, it's
okay. Yes. So we're now going to move on to Mark James, the director at Padworth College. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Anne-Marie. Could you please
Yes.
give me permission to share my screen?
Yes, I have done that.
You've done that. Thank you.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for inviting Padworth to be part of your webinar today. Good morning, everybody. As per the agenda, I'd like to spend a bit of time providing an introduction to Padworth, and then talk a little bit further about what we're referring to as our readiness for reopening. Padworth College was established in 1963 by a gentleman called Peter Fison, who was an Oxford professor at the time, and he was interested in bringing tutorial style teaching that they had at Oxford University to sixth form education. And it's an international co-educational boarding and day school for students aged 13 to 18, although the centre of gravity in terms of enrolments is very much sixth form. We offer a broad range of academic programmes to prepare international and British students for progression onto top universities, mainly in the UK, although some of our students will go on to universities in the US and other markets. We're a small school, which I think is important when we come on to talk about COVID and operating in a sort of safe environment from the autumn. So up to 100 boarders and 20 day students. And we're very much an international school, with 80% of the students being international from about 30 different nationalities. We're on a 12-acre site on the edge of the hamlet of Padworth, which is close to the university town of Reading, and London is also close by. Just a little bit now on the location. So we're about 35 miles from Heathrow Airport. It's about a 40-minute drive down the M4 to Heathrow. So in terms of transport links and access to London, very well located. Trains from Reading to London currently take about 28 minutes to Paddington, but I think from next year we'll also have the benefits of Crossrail, which will provide direct access right across London from Reading. We offer a broad range of academic programmes, which include obviously academic subjects and extracurricular activities, small class sizes, so we've got optimum student-teacher interaction, and the main programmes are Year 9, a 1-year IGCSE, 2-year IGCSE, an 18-month A-level programme with a January start, a 2-year A-level programme, the NCUK International Foundation Year for students aged 17 on entry, equivalent of year 13. And we also do short immersion programs for international students. Like all schools presenting today and all schools in the UK, we moved our provision online in March following the announcement that schools had to close. And so throughout the summer term, we were offering our students around the world real-time interactive classes with their teachers following the normal timetable. And in addition to their academic studies, the students also benefited from weekly academic progress tutorials with their tutor, and also wellbeing and fitness tutorials and other sort of online extracurricular activities. I've included this here because when we look ahead to the autumn, some of our provision will continue to be online. And I think from our perspective, the fact we've been operating online now for 3 months obviously gives us confidence when we look ahead to our plans for the autumn. Just a little bit about our accreditation. So we're accredited by the ISA and Boarding Schools Association, British Council for the Teaching of English to International Students, and a member of English UK. And we're also an accredited NCUK delivery partner, so we can offer the NCUK International Foundation Year Programme. In terms of what makes Padworth stand out or differentiates us from some of the other international schools out there, we're providing students with the opportunity to prepare for university, but in a college environment. It's an informal yet supportive environment with small interactive classes and excellent pastoral care. And in order to prepare them for university, all students benefit from single study bedrooms. The senior leadership team and teaching staff at the college are experienced in supporting international students and specifically international students transition into the British education system. Many of them have taught overseas during their career. I've talked a little bit about our location and also a global diversity. So students joining Padworth, I think, must be drawn to the opportunity to study a British education, but in an international community with students from around the world. And we have a long history of recruiting students from Nigeria. University admissions is clearly very much part of the overall programme for students joining in the sixth form. And this really starts in the spring of year 12, when we start to work with the students through their tutors and in their tutorial groups on thinking through courses and universities. Students have the opportunity to attend university careers fairs and open days at universities. And as we progress through the summer, they then obviously focus on their personal statement preparation. And coming back to the college for year 13 in the autumn, we really want the students to be in a position to submit their applications through UCAS no later than October half term. Obviously, for those applying to Oxbridge or medical school, the deadline is earlier, but the whole framework is set up to have their applications in through that support in year 12 and year 13 by mid-October. In terms of university destinations, this is a snapshot from the past 5 or so years. Historically, about 40% of our students have gone on to Russell Group universities. We're a non-selective school, so the breadth of universities represented here reflects that aspect of our provision, but the typical norm is for about 40% of students, international and British, to progress on to Russell Group institutions. In terms of what we refer to as our readiness for reopening, planning really started as soon as we had to close at the end of March, and we started to obviously think ahead, not just through the summer term, but coming out of lockdown, what does a provision look like? And during the last 3 months, we've been working hard on this area. The college, like many schools in the UK, many boarding schools in the UK, has adopted the BSA's COVID Safe Charter. And we've also committed to the Safe Schools UK initiative, both of which I'm sure you are familiar with. We published our readiness for reopening brochure in May and followed that up with a bit more detail in the context of a frequently asked questions document in June, and planning continues. And as Henrietta mentioned in her presentation, we're still in a situation here where the regulations and the requirements coming down from the government and ultimately through the BSA are changing on a regular basis. So I think all schools are planning ahead to the autumn, but in certain areas, some of the requirements have yet to be finalised. In terms of some of the specific aspects in relation to reopening in the autumn, starting with our location, we're fortunate that we've got a 12-acre campus, very well located in terms of transport links, but is in the countryside. We've got plenty of space, including spare classrooms, capacity that can be utilised in our boarding houses, several common rooms, and even 2 dining rooms. And all of that is, we think, helpful in the context of operating in this new world, where obviously space and to some extent just having some fresh air is going to be, we believe, beneficial for the students' education. Pastoral care sort of always been an important part of college life and the provision at Padworth, and obviously this will become increasingly important going forward. And our aim is to create a happy and secure environment for the students, so they can obviously focus on their studies. And that, as I mentioned, will be particularly important, with no doubt more concerns about health and safety when the students return in September. Social distancing will be managed practically and effectively, and will include details like staggered meal times, a review of weekend activities, and I think initially we will focus on local trips and trips avoiding highly populated area. We will have restrictions in place in terms of the number of students and staff that can congregate at any one time, and we'll also have restrictions in place in terms of how the college community interacts with the wider community, including any local travel. Until we've got more clarity, we will place restrictions on external visitors to the college. As I mentioned earlier, the students benefit already from smaller interactive classes, so we don't need to run multiple classes because of the need to reduce the numbers. The numbers in the classroom are generally quite small. And if the weather permits, there's always a scope also to have classes outside during September, utilising the available space. In terms of health and well-being, this has always been an area of importance for Padworth, and will also obviously become more important in terms of mitigating the risk of infection. We have an on-site medical room, and the boarding staff are first aid trained and oversee the medical care of the students on a day-to-day basis. If there is any case of suspected case of COVID on site, whether it's staff or students, they will be treated initially on site in isolation. But we also have access to the local GP. All boarders are registered with the local GP should we need to consult with a doctor. On the boarding side, the students benefit from having single study bedrooms, which again is beneficial if there is a need for isolation. The rooms are cleaned on a daily basis anyway, and we will obviously step up the sanitisation of communal areas, and we will manage the arrival of students in September in a way that obviously is focused very much on their student welfare. Testing, the rules here are still, I think, a little bit in flux, but we have put in place arrangements to test the students using a third-party external test provider and to test them on arrival, and again at regular intervals, subject to government guidance and regulations. And we will also test staff, and we will conduct regular temperature checks. The quarantine situation is changing, again on a regular basis, but if there is a requirement to quarantine the students upon arrival, they will do so for the period of quarantine that is required. Our thinking here is that the students would be asked to remain in their rooms whilst they're in the quarantine, i.e. isolated as per the guidelines, and they'll obviously be cared for by students, meals will be provided. And if this requirement is in place, we will start the term with our online provision until the students are able to join their classes in a normal way. Personal protection. Students and staff will be advised to wear masks that cover nose and mouth, and obviously also advised to wash their hands regularly and use the sanitising gel provided before meals and on entering any college building. And if we need to utilise any other PPE, we will do so. And the buildings will undergo a deep clean before the start of the autumn term, and classrooms, laboratory, dining room and common area surfaces will be cleaned throughout the day. And I know half term in the autumn term is also a topic of conversation. The college is planning to stay open during half term, so there won't be a need for boarders to either return home or to go and stay with their guardian during half term week. We want to give prospective students or incoming students as many options as possible for the autumn, because we recognise that flights may be restricted, visas may be delayed, or families may simply be reluctant to commit to a September start if there is a resurgence of COVID or another lockdown, or just because they want to sort of wait and see. So we've got 4 options here that we're promoting for the autumn term, just to offer as much flexibility as possible. Option A is that students enroll on campus as planned. Travel day is the 2nd of September and the first day of term is Thursday, the 2nd of September. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, if we need to quarantine the students, we will start our provision online whilst we're in that quarantine period. The second option here is that in essence, students will start their studies online for the first month of term, and then they would arrive on campus on Sunday, the 4th of October, to then join their classes in person. The third option, option C, they start online, and for the first 2 months, they work from home, study from home, joining their classes, and then arrive on campus on Sunday, the 1st of November. And the last option is online provision throughout the autumn term, with students starting in January. The online provision will be different to the summer term, in that the students will be joining their classmates who are in the classroom through Microsoft Teams room. So they will be actively joining the classes. They will be able to contribute to the discussion, talk to the teacher, see what's on the whiteboard. And so we believe it will be a good alternative solution to actually being here in person, although obviously our preference is for the students to enrol in September as planned. I've just put the fees there so parents can understand the different fee structures that we're promoting, and scholarships and bursaries are also available still for all programmes. I think that's my 10 minutes up, Anne-Marie.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your in-depth presentation. One thing I noted during your presentation was that Padworth is adopting the COVID-19, the BSA, British School Association COVID-19 Safe Charter, and the Safe Schools Initiative, which we know comprises of, a set of government rules and regulations to ensure health and safety of students on campus, and to prevent transmission of the virus in the schools. As the Nubi Education Executive Director mentioned in her welcome address, Nigerian families are a bit nervous and, anxious about sending their children to the UK because, they aren't sure if it's safe to do so, So you going into detail about the hygiene protocols that the college has in place come autumn term and beyond is definitely very reassuring that the school is committed to keeping students safe on campus. So thank you so much for that. We are now going to move on to James Barton of MPW London.
Thank you very much. Can I request the same, which is to please to give me access, if you don't mind, to share my screen.
Yes. So Mark, I think you would need to close your screen or stop your present. Yes, that's fine. So sorry, James, you may go ahead.
That's all right. I rather liked your presentation, Mark. I could have used yours at the same time, no problem. Right, let's give this one a whirl instead. Let's go from here. There we are. Okay. Well, thank you again for inviting. Welcome to MPW. We are a group of colleges in the UK. And what's really interesting is listening to everyone else, because there are similarities and of course there are differences. But what's nice is the fact that I think in talking here, things might dovetail, and I think a common consensus across the group today is what will actually give people reassurance, not just in our schools, but in UK education in general. One thing the Brits are very good at doing is following a set of rules and guidelines, and hopefully that will be what comes across. Start with a little bit of a history lesson for you. We were founded in 1973 by Messrs. Mander, Portman and Woodward. And there's a beautiful irony to how we're actually having to teach at this moment in time, because when MPW was started, it was started in the front room of the houses of Messrs. Mander, Portman and Woodward, delivering a small group tuition to students at that time. And that is in fact what we're doing now, albeit with the wonders of modern technology. So there's a bit of a reversal back to the past for us, but in a very positive way. But what that means is the fact the MPW system and style is actually set up quite nicely, either and preferably to be delivered face-to-face, but it actually works quite well online as well. So we started out back in the 1970s and 80s delivering small group tuition. We now have colleges in London, Birmingham and Cambridge, but our style and the ethos and the way we actually teach hasn't actually changed over the course of time. What we are is non-selective. We have education tailored to the individual, and we are more interested in the individual from the outset. Yes, there's some guidelines as to what things we expect from the outside in order to make sure students can cope at the A-level stage, but ultimately we are far more interested in who you are, where you want to go, and then we have a system designed to deliver that on an individual basis in order to help you go to where you would like to be. But we're set up based upon this Oxford tutorial model because our founders came from that system. That means small groups, and we have a maximum of 9 in a class, which again is a very useful thing when considering our response to COVID-19. If you're taking a science-based route, you have 8 hours tuition. If you're taking a humanities route, you get 6 hours tuition in there because you give a little bit more when you're doing a maths or a science because you have some laboratory work to do, or the volume of the course in mathematics too. We are predominantly a sixth form college, but we have GCSEs, and we also offer various university foundation programs as well, which we'll touch upon. But ultimately what we have is flexibility and a variety of choice. And that's the reason why most students will come to us, is because after GCSE stage, they now get the opportunity to decide on what they would like to be and what ultimately defines them. And when we interview students from the outset, we are looking at who they are and what actually they want to do, rather than trying to fit them into blocks or tiers. We want them to have a sensible group of subjects that necessarily takes them to where they'd like to be. And our core model, as well as actually trying to teach, we are looking for students who engage with the idea of what we're trying to do. And that's very much interactive learning. It's not a chalk and talk style of teaching. It's the ability to be able to discuss, to have a constructive exchange of ideas and opinion and debate within the classroom, and also to make A-levels relevant outside the classroom. While the education system in the UK seems to be very much top down in terms of we are always trying to get into university, what we are therefore trying to do at A-level is actually try and make education that little bit different, not just make it relevant to getting the grades to go to university, but also trying to create a student and a student of learning and make A-levels relevant to the world outside. So a lot of what we do is always trying to make it towards something else and trying to find cross-curriculum links as well. We have a personal tutor system. Our pastoral system is the thing that we probably champion the most, because it is the one thing where we can actually claim value add, whereby we'll take a student from where they are now to where they want to be at the end by giving them tailored individual guidance, not a group guidance, but individual. You'll meet your personal tutor week in, week out, and you might be discussing your academics, you might be discussing your university, you might be discussing a sport that you would like to do that maybe we don't offer, but we could help outside. The better your relationship with your personal tutor, the better the experience ultimately becomes. Again, what we're trying to do is teach adulthood in a way, teach people the ability to be able to ask for help where they need it, as well as us identify at this early stage when people actually need that little bit more. We are specialists in medical school entry. Medical school entry is at the very top of what we do. We have a 95% success rate year in, year out on our medics, and that includes our mature medic program as well. So we do have students who come to us post getting a degree because now they've made a radical decision to go into medicine, and right now what a great decision that might be. But we do invest a lot of time, energy and resource into our medics themselves. We also have Oxbridge programs, engineering programs, art school programs. Again, looking at an individual, who you are, what you want, and we probably have a program that's going to go alongside it. What we equally have is an extensive use of our alumni network. So we have an alumni program which gives in lots of ways, probably like most schools, opportunities and work experience year round in order to be able to bolster what students do here. If nothing else, we also like to try and buddy up our students with someone who's been through this before, maybe in a related field, maybe just they've simply passed out within the last couple of years, so that they also feel like they have someone closer to their own age and maybe a new source of inspiration for them throughout their studies. We are not an international school. It's a really key difference to make here, but we're not an international school. But we do champion our international body. We are in London 75% UK, even Birmingham we're 80% UK, the remainder being made up of international students coming from over 55 nationalities there. It's a lovely, very healthy mix to have an international body, but the key difference is students are coming over in order to study in the UK-based environment with other English students. That is our system, that's our model, and that's how we're set up. What makes us special? Well, we're at the very top in terms of our inspection reports. We are able to claim in each of our 3 colleges the top level in each of the inspections. We are ISI accredited throughout our colleges. We're in the top 15% of schools in England, and our A-level results will always be 39% A-level exams graded A-star A, which is well above that national average of 26%. When you work with individuals, it's much better it's much easier to get more out of students. Flexibility, choice, we said that we have that. We actually offer 44 different A-level subjects. You can do those in any combination you like, provided that it makes sense. And when interviewing students from the outset, you are really just trying to get that point across to them that we need to come up with a program that reflects them, but also takes them to where they'd like to go. We are non-academically selective, but we are looking for 7 GCSE passes, which is a 5 or higher in all of your subjects or equivalent, but 7 or 6, depending on which the subject is, in either mathematics or a facilitating subject. We are more concerned with individuals. We have a September intake, which is the main intake, but we also offer an 18-month program from January as well. And we offer 1-year A-levels, but 1-year A-levels come with a health warning, and they are not suitable for everyone. So they need a good conversation from the outset as to whether you are actually able to take that on, or whether actually there is a more sensible route available for that. We have a variety of foundation programs if A-levels are not your thing, and those are for people aged 17 plus. We offer the University of London foundation program with the curriculum designed by the LSE there. It focuses on economics and social sciences, and it provides entry to, generally speaking, all of the universities in the UK, so that top bracket, barring a few. A-levels will always be the gold standard. Foundation courses get to a certain point. University of London is our hardest one there. It needs an IELTS level of 6.0, and it will be focused on the economics and social sciences. We as well are a provider of the NC UK program, which is a bit more of a flexible program. It offers 4 academics routes: business, engineering, humanities, and science, but that gives you guaranteed entry onto a partner university. It has an IELTS level of 5.5 there, and because of that, we will also be providing extra English language support throughout the course there, and that's academic English as well. And if neither of those are the actual route for you, MPW has created our own foundation program, which is the MPW University Foundation Program, which is either a business or an engineering route. That has a lower IELTS level because in that first term, so it has a September start for those who are looking to develop their English, and then the curriculum starts in January over a 2-term period. If your English is already at a good level, then actually joining in January is another way around doing it. We try and differentiate ourselves from other pathway providers or university foundation courses because our approach to our foundation courses is exactly the same as it would be if a student is taking A-levels. We still operate in the same group sizes. People still get the same level of pastoral support there. They still have the opportunities of any school in terms of getting the extracurricular activities. It is not just specific to trying to get onto that university course. We are still trying to approach you as a student who needs some rounding off at the edges before you go on to university. But the pastoral support is just as extensive for foundation. Success stories, I will leave the slide actually on the screen itself. Okay, we do have a number of students, and this has grown, as I'm sure most people will find in the past few years, towards US and Canadian universities as well. Our number now is at 10% who apply for those. Our majority are English-based universities, but we have a large art school and drama school contingent who come through us as well. And we had one of our lovely students this year, Valerie, who's one of our student ambassadors, who actually is going on next year to study medicine in the UK as also. Okay. As I said, our main thrust, I suppose, is our personal tutor system, which looks at the academic progress, engages with students, but also very much invites conversation with parents and agents as well, so that we are all on the same page. It's a completely transparent, open door system throughout. You have complete access to those personal tutors. Everything we do, we publish on our virtual learning environment, so you can see what we're doing. You can see the students' progress on there as well. You can see homework submission, when this actually went through in the first place. If you have a red flag you'd like to talk to us about, you can. Otherwise, we'll be reporting back on a regular basis, both positively and possibly in a situation where there needs to be something more, but also giving you the strategy for what we're doing. University applications are the lifeblood of any school and any college, particularly for us, both for our first-timers and any retakers who come through, so we have that specialist provision. All our personal tutors are UCAS counsellors by trade and training, so they are there to provide that help, but also a source of inspiration. And we are also very, very keen on the promotion of mental health and general welfare. And we have not only our personal tutors, but private college counsellors as well, in order to be able to cater for students. This is obviously very hot topic in schools in the UK at the moment, and something we are very much trying to provide provision for at each and every stage. Not something we've just started, but something that has been going on now for a good 10, 15 years. And we have a range of extracurricular activities. Why not? I mean, ultimately, when you go to school, school is an experience. You still need the excellent tuition, but you need something else as well. You might want to play your sport, and we are London, Birmingham, Cambridge, so therefore, ultimately, you have all of that facility around you. But you might not want to stand on a cold rugby field. Instead, you might want to be doing something else. You might want to do Edinburgh or art, or maybe just learn a language, MUN, whatever it is. And we also offer extensive overseas trips as well. You go to an extracurricular fair at the start of the year, and this is where it becomes a little bit more like the bridging of a gap between school, boarding school and university itself. Your experience is defined by what you make of it, and therefore you go to the extracurricular fair in order to be able to choose the other things and layer up your experience based upon that. It also very much helps you get more of a community feel, and those who do really well in a college environment like MPW are those who not only engage with our style of teaching, but also engage with this community aspect, because you're all in it together. This is a team with individuals within that particular team. So choose the things where you can meet like-minded individuals. We're not a boarding school, but we have accommodation, and we have supervised accommodation nearby to all three of our colleges. They are open to students from 16 plus. Fully supervised with live-in house parents there who also communicate with the personal tutors at school. So you can feel safe both inside and outside the school that there is an ongoing channel of communication. Single room occupancy, ensuite bathrooms, which obviously helps now with the adherence to COVID-19 rules. Meal plans and laundry are always available too. And at this stage, we will be encouraging people to take up a reduced rate full board option so that we can make sure that everyone is safe within there. And these are short walking distances to the college, so people do not have to engage with London transport, for example. There you can walk. It's a very generous, slow 10-minute walk to the school, or if actually you're walking at a sensible rate, you'll probably get there within the 5 minutes itself. And here is our accommodation, which gives you a bit of a sense to it. These are modern accommodation rooms, a little bit like hotel studios, for example. So our response to COVID-19 isn't going to be demonstrably different from the other providers that you've heard from so far. And that was encouraging for me to hear as well, that we are all singing from the same hymn sheet. What's happened for us, we actually moved online 10 days before the national lockdown started, because we've been developing our own style of online tuition for quite some time. Albeit we were caught at a stage whereby obviously we needed to operate it, but we were in fact ready to go. We went online 10 days before the lockdown, and we managed to maintain throughout years 10, 11, 12 and 13, and even our year 14 retakers, a 94% attendance across 3 colleges and 5 continents. We were ready to go within 24 hours in order to deliver the online tuition in exactly the same way as it would have been in the classroom. I alluded to it before, but our style of teaching is interactive, and it lends itself quite nicely to this model. So while it took a couple of days of getting used to it, actually the system worked incredibly well. What we've been doing since, as well as the online tuition, we've been delivering webinars not only for our students, but for our partners and for parents as well, to educate on how we are doing things, what our style of learning is, even actually looking at our online teaching system. And if anyone is interested, I will happily send over some videos that we've been working on in order to demonstrate how our online tuition actually works. That might come in handy if we ever go into the stage whereby it is necessary again. We've been doing over the summer a Ready for Excellence program, so named because we are getting people ready for the start of September. This, as well as our pre-sessional English programs, have been free for students to make use of, and they include anything from introduction to subjects, to extension to certain subjects for year 12s into 13s, early university advice, maybe it's actually presentations on specific careers, and pre-sessional English for anyone who requires it coming up to the start of September. The college at this moment is being adapted. As we do every summer, we have a thorough deep clean of it, a repainting of the entire buildings, but also putting in place the actual guidelines that the guidance that we actually have to do. So we have gone to a single route system all around the colleges, so there will be a bit more of a flow to the actual process. There are sanitisation stations everywhere. We have one entrance in and out of the college, and at the main entrance there is a sanitisation station as well as a temperature check that will be adhered to. Within our receptions there are screens up, and we've moved everything onto an online system so that when parents come to visit, we are paperless, and therefore you will be using iPads to give us the relevant details as opposed to actually writing anything down for us. We are reopening in September. We are looking forward to face-to-face teaching, as I'm sure everyone is. We will be running our induction program starting on the 7th, so 2 days in advance. We will be making sure that everyone not only has given us all the right documentation as we always do, but actually now we've tested everyone as well. All the tests that we will be doing are obviously free for students in the first instance, so we will test all of our students coming through within this induction period. If you're an international student coming over, we would like to try and encourage you to be there on the 23rd of August. And, one, potentially if there is a quarantine need, or two, actually just to get you confident, ready to start in September. But no matter when you start, we will be using the same length of time in order to get you ready. If you arrive late and you are requiring a quarantine, that's absolutely fine. We will still be delivering the same teaching model to you, albeit virtually, whilst you are looked after within the accommodation itself. In terms of coming early, you will not be charged for coming earlier than otherwise. We will be picking up the cost for you coming over and being there a couple of weeks in advance. We have a living and learning document that can be sent, and indeed a microsite that gives you a guided walkthrough for our safety procedures and a virtual look around the school in terms of our safety procedures as well. And that's available to all parents and agents on request, so we can happily do that. We equally are signed up to the Safe Schools Charter and the Safe Schools Initiative. We will be doing on-site testing as well, as I said. We'll be doing temperature checks, the one-way flow of the corridors to adhere to social distancing. Within our classrooms, they will be obviously spaced out. We don't have huge classrooms in themselves, and in certain subjects where we won't be able to make them into slightly bigger classroom spaces, we will be doing half-half with that. So on one day you will be in the classroom, or we might actually split the classes. So what you'll be doing is having a smaller and more reduced class in that particular subject. Or the other option to what we are actually looking at there, depending on enrolment for certain courses, is that you will be in the class half on one day and the other half will be in the next day. But in the meantime, all of our classes, bearing in mind how successful our online model has been, will be recorded, and students can join those classes virtually as well. This is particularly useful if you're not actually going to be able to be in the classroom because of isolation or quarantine or confidence levels. You will still be able to follow exactly the same curriculum. We will not be going over our class sizes. It is still a group, and the group will still work in the same way. What we need to do is remember everyone's confidence levels and try and get you back in as comfortably as possible in the shortest possible space of time. Now, within classrooms, certain screens will be put up. Staff are going to be wearing PPE, so they will be provided with visors as well. We've ordered masks for all of our students, so students will be provided with masks as well. That should say masks instead of marks. That's my error on writing this presentation today, but you will be provided with masks. And this hybrid learning will be ready and available for all students from September onwards. If we ever move back into a state where we are in lockdown again, we will equally migrate straight onto the online system. Students will be made very comfortable and familiar with it throughout the course and the early part of this term, just in that particular eventuality, so they know exactly how it works. They will get training and experience in terms of how that works. We have an online video if you'd like to actually see what we'll be doing there for that. And then the other one is the January deferral. If you are really not at the stage where you are confident and you really do not like the early way of actually doing this online tuition to start with, we will be offering January deferrals to people. They are possible, and we can actually look at this sensibly. The key is actually to try and give you as much confidence, not only in us, but in England as a whole, in order to come over. We are well set up as a country. We do have an excellent NHS system, and we are doing very well in what we're doing nowadays. So all I can try and do is give you as much confidence as everyone else, and assure you that we are ready to go in the same way as you would hope us to be. But I think that brings MPW to a close.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mark. So one thing I noted was how successful the MPW online model has been from when, sorry, there's a bit of an echo. I'm just going to see if I can mute everybody. Okay, yes. So I was saying one thing I noted during your presentation, Mark, was, you know, you mentioned that, you know, when the colleges were forced to close, and this is the case for all UK boarding schools, learning was forced to move to online delivery. And you mentioned that your online model has been very successful. You had a 94% attendance rate across all 3 colleges and the 5 continents. So this shows that your current students, you know, adapted to this new way of learning quite seamlessly. It shows that they were motivated to join their classes online. And you also mentioned that, you know, at MPW, you pride yourselves on ensuring that learning is interactive. It's not just, you know, the teacher standing at a board and, you know, making all the notes and, you know, not giving the students an opportunity to contribute, you know, whatever ideas they have. A fear of Nigerian families, you know, about with regards to the pandemic is, okay, I'll state the current situation in Nigeria. The visa centers have not reopened. International flights, the ban on international flights is yet to be lifted. You know, so Nigerian families are worried that, you know, their children are not going to be able to make it in time to the UK comes this forthcoming September. They're worried about online provision. They are anxious that their students, their children will not receive the same level of academic expertise and, you know, the same student experience that a child would receive if he or she had been on campus receiving, you know, physical classes. But, you know, from listening to your presentation, from using that your online model, you know, even commenced 10 days before the lockdown in the UK, you know, it just shows that MPW is committed to delivering a rigorous, you know, academic and co-curricular program for students, whether that's in person, you know, on campus, or that's online. So thank you very much for your presentation. We are now going to move to Kevin Sampson of Buxwood School.
Hello, good afternoon now. How are we doing? All right?
Very well, thank you, Kevin.
Good, thanks. To sort of parrot everybody else, if I could take on the screen for a minute, yeah, and I will do my best to stick to the 10 minutes because I realise time is getting away from us. So,
thank you so much, Kevin.
Okay, share my screen. All right, bear with me, technology. Right. So, can you see a screen saying Buxwood School?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay, fantastic, great. Right, so Buxwood School is as you can see here, we are a British school with a global outlook. We have about 330 students at the school, of which around 200 are boarding students from about 40 different nationalities. We have been at our current site near Hastings and you can see the school there, for the past 20 years. Prior to that, we were in a town called Uckfield. We're in the southeast of England, and just in the corner of that picture, you can see the English Channel. So we are very rural and very close to the coast. So it's a lovely location. We have a variety of programs that I'm going to take you through briefly here so you can have an understanding. There's lots more information on our school website, of course, at buxton.co.uk, which gives you all the information about fees, about our university placements, and about all the programs that we offer. We are based at a old stately home called Broomham Hall, and as I say, we've been here for about 20 years. The school itself has been around since 1933, and we are a proprietorial school, which means we are owned by one person, and as a result, we are able to move very quickly and adapt to circumstances, be it the current pandemic situation, or be it just we decide that the movement of education is going in a certain direction. We want to get ahead of that curve, and we will be able to adapt and move and adjust very, very rapidly, which is great. But we also are a traditional school, as you can see by our uniform. We're a multicultural school. We celebrate the diversity of our student body, over 40 nationalities, but we are based around the UK curriculum. Here's our location. Very close to London in terms of transport links. We are close to the coast in terms of getting into Europe for school trips, as and when these are opened up to travel and as restrictions are eased. So that's where we're at. And we're down in the corner here, as you can see from the arrow. A little bit about our heritage. We've been around since 1933. We've been a small school. We are, as I say, 330 kids now. And we are a co-educational school, about a mix of about 60% boarding and 40% day students. So our international students get that British feel, and our British students also get that international feel. So it's a wonderful mix of students. We have a lovely site. We have lots of farmland around us. The school itself has some farmland, and students have access to our woodland as well. So we have outdoor activities, which is important in this ever-increasing world of urbanization. It provides this little oasis of calm for our students from around the world to live in a little what we call the For a home away from home, we serve our meals family style, although we are looking at how we're adapting our seating and our catering in light of the COVID situation. But we are a traditional school, and we do have a heavy emphasis upon table manners and respect, especially around mealtime. We have options at our school in addition to education. We have horses on site for horse riding. We have our own orchards and vineyards where students can learn about viticulture and about farming, agriculture, and also about how their food comes from a field and gets to their plate. It's a very beautiful campus, as you can see. I apologize if I'm sort of rushing through a little bit of this, but I'm aware that everyone has been sat for a fair amount of time, so I want to give you a flavour for our school without telling you much, as it were. Our approach is a very well-rounded approach. We believe that every student is an individual, and we are preparing them for life. Our school motto in Latin, ad vitam paramus, is we are preparing for life. And we base it upon the idea that everyone is an individual, and as such, we want to find what that child's talent is. We want to prepare them to be able to show that talent. We want them to achieve, we want them to be creative, and we want them to stand out from the crowd. We do this through a system of educational challenge and support. We have a good pastoral care system. Every child has a form tutor who they're allocated to when they join. Boarders also have within their residence a residential tutor to provide them with support. We have a strong system of pastoral care running through our wellbeing hub. We have very good academic progress. We've been ranked 5th in Sussex and Kent and 35th nationally out of 4,434 schools for pupil progress and achievement A level. So we are very proud of the progress that we make with students. We are a non-selective school. So as such, you've heard some of my colleagues here talking about how their schools have shown very, very strong results. We are very proud of the fact that we take students who might not necessarily be accepted to certain schools because of their grades, and we get them through their A-level program, their IB program, their foundation program, whatever those steps are, to get them the opportunity and into position to be able to go to university and succeed, whether that's here in the UK or overseas. We engage with our parents through an app called Sims, so you have regular, up-to-the-minute information on your child's attendance, on their progress, and on their ability, their achievements within the school. In terms of our age groups, as you can see from this, Nigeria is located in the middle here of our chart, and this is where our ages sit. We start in your JSS1 and goes all the way up to undergraduate year 1. So that's how our ages. This is typical secondary school. And we accept students at all entry points. We don't have a fixed entry point. We have students that are able to come for 1 year, for 5 years, for 7 years, for even a term, should they wish to come for that, to experience the opportunities that the schools present. We do have some students who decide to come for a term, but then end up staying. In some cases, they stay for 6 years. So we are very proud of what we offer. There's a little sample of how our school works. We operate down the junior end of our pyramid. Our first 3 years are at what we call Key Stage 3, and that largely follows the UK national curriculum. It's a broad-based curriculum exposing our students to subjects from French, Spanish, geography, history, art, music, drama, and of course our core subjects, English, maths, and science. We have fully equipped science laboratories, and our teaching is very strong. We then move up into the GCSE years, the blue level there, and we have 2 options there. You can come for 2 years to study your GCSEs, that's your General Certificate of Secondary Education, which I believe is similar to what you have in Nigeria there to finish your schooling. And then you have our sixth form options, A-level or International Baccalaureate as well. We also have our University Foundation program, which isn't on there. We have a University Foundation program, which is a 1-year course in business management, and it's accredited by the university, providing entry in that route. We have a wide curriculum, as I've said. We have a focus upon manners, as I said earlier, and we also have a wide co-curricular program involving trips and the discovery of the world beyond the classroom. There are some limits on that right now. UK government advice is such that there should be no overnight trips in September, so we're following that, but we're trying to look at what local trips we can do. We're in a very important historical part of the country, and there's a lot of culture around here, with Brighton just around the corner and the Battle of Hastings having been fought just near here. It's an interesting time, certainly, to come to the UK and to experience what UK offers in terms of education, both within and outside of the classroom. I note that the visa centres are still closed, and there are challenges in that regard. So we are lobbying with our MP, who is on various committees at Parliament, to ensure that UK opens up these centres as soon as possible, as soon as it is safe to do so, to allow students to return to us in September and to start with us in September, because we feel it is something the UK government isn't doing that well right now, but we are working very hard with our member associations and with our Member of Parliament to make sure that happens. Our students also get to have what we call a real-world experience. The students in the sixth form who are doing business courses have the opportunity to go to the London Academy of Trading to learn how to do stocks and shares and get placements around the world with various organisations, and our alumni network certainly does help with that. We also have a sister school in Tbilisi, Georgia, and the picture on the right of your screen there you're seeing shows our students visiting the patriarch, the head of the Georgian church there, the Orthodox church there, which was a very interesting experience. We have very close ties with that country, so our students go there, and we aim to go back there as soon as travel restrictions are lifted and be able to have that exchange. We hold our students' culture and religious beliefs, very, very strongly. We are a non-denominational school. However, we do have students of all different religious faiths attending there, and so we provide them the opportunities to practice their faiths, whether it's allowing our Muslim students to go to the local mosque on Fridays for Friday prayers, or our Christian students to go to church on Sundays for Sunday services. We are very sympathetic to that, and especially in this time of stress and anxiety, faith is certainly something that a lot of people are holding very tight to, and quite rightly so. And so we support that here as a school, as part of our ethos of making sure that traditions are upheld. As I said earlier, A-levels, IB, and University Foundation course at the sixth form. And then we also have strong English and culture embedded throughout our curriculum. We have an intensive English program for those students who need to develop their English scores. We do IELTS, we do Lambda to develop confidence in speaking and performing. And we work to make sure that all our students get the grades they need to be able to access university, certainly from an English language point of view, as well as the academic within the classroom. It's not just about academics. We have a music department. We have a bagpipe band. We compete internationally with our bagpipe band. So if you have never even thought about learning the bagpipes, well, this is something you should do if you come here. It's a fantastic opportunity and very unique thing. Certainly, we've had students who've got university placements when they said they played in the school bagpipe band on the personal statement, and people go, "What's that?" And it's absolutely fascinating thing for us to offer down here in Hastings. The owner of the school, he went to St Andrews University and is passionate about this as being a school. Students also have access to musical instruction in various different instruments. And we're looking at how to make sure that is safe in September for students to do with the COVID-19 protocols in place, which I will talk to you about. We have a strong arts department as well, both performing and visual arts, and students go off to some top schools to follow their passion in these subjects as well. We are a well-rounded school. We're a registered exam centre. We have all sorts of subjects there that we quick look at the school in terms of our location. We are a little village, and as such it's quite easy for us to control access to our site. We have one entrance and one exit to the site, and so with COVID-19 protocols we are stopping all visitors except for pre-booked essential visitors to the site. Any flow of traffic throughout the school is tightly controlled, and throughout our buildings we are looking at zoning the school to make sure that our students are minimally exposed to any potential risks the pandemic situation created. We offer a huge range of sports. As you can see there, I won't read them all to you, but we do offer some really key specialist coaching in football. We have a football academy with about 65 students who are involved in that with professional coaches. The head of our football academy is the former Arsenal youth football coach, and for a small school of less than 350 students, we certainly punch above our weight. We're in 2 national semi-finals right now. We won the Under-16 National Cup a couple of years ago with our squad, and we've had students who have been able to get placements at certain professional clubs around the world, and some have even managed to play in the Premier League. So we're very proud of that. In terms of COVID, we're looking at protocols for being able to train. We've got an approval at grassroots levels now from the FA, and our coaches are regularly in touch with schools and organisations to make sure that students will be able to return in September and train and be safe. And that's the key. Rugby as well is a big developing sport with us. We've had connections with the Natal Sharks in South Africa and with Harlequins here in the UK, and we also have a netball academy, and we have specialist training in golf and tennis. Sports is your thing, certainly there are options here for you. All of the stuff we're doing in September is under the banner of our COVID safe charter that we've taken that on with part of our membership of the Association. Summary there of our sports academies, and this presentation I'm happy to share with Nubi Education after this, so you can have a look at this at your leisure. Some more information there on our football. Back to Difference, we talk about this as our school. Back to Difference, it's all about what it is our children are talented at and how we can help develop that, whether it's taking flying lessons. The lad pictured there, I believe, has now gone on to become a professional pilot. That's his passion. Whether it's celebrating different cultures, we have our students there celebrating Burns Night, a Scottish celebration. We have a series of celebrations of different nationalities where students can showcase their home countries, their home cultures, their home cuisines. And we want our students to leave the school having really been immersed in an international community, and one in which they are successful and global-minded citizens, which is shown by our Buxwood tree here in terms of how we approach learning and how we approach supporting our students as well. We want them to leave having experienced as many of these things as possible. We are a boarding school and a day school. Our accommodation is a series of houses around the site, so all of our accommodation is on site. We do have just up the road another building that we have purposed as an isolation house, should we have to use that for quarantining of students if they test positive. But otherwise, we are very much a closed shop for our boarders. So it's a very safe environment for them to be at. We do a whole range of boarding programs for our boarders to make sure they develop as individuals, be it fitness training, be it learning how to cook, how to wash their own clothes, how to sew a button on their shoes, how to polish their shoes, how to make sure that they are able to leave our school as independent learners. On the weekends, we have a program called our Western School program, where they have to do some schoolwork to make sure that there is still an academic element, but there's also structured activities and, of course, time for chilling out. Half-term trips, as and when we're able to go and do overnight trips, students at the school can certainly go to all sorts of places around the world. Examples there: Dubai, Hong Kong, Edinburgh, Paris, Rome, and Holland. As one of my colleagues said earlier, their school is staying open at half-term. Ours is certainly staying open at half-terms as well. And we also have close connections with guardianship agencies should your child come to us and not wish to travel or go on a trip. So there are safety protocols in place there. We also have a connection with the Kingdom of Eswatini, where we send students every year to go and do some work over there. We have a close connection with His Majesty the King of Swati there, and that's a great opportunity for students in terms of being able to become global citizens and be more globally minded. Certainly something that's very popular and oversubscribed every year. In terms of academic achievement, which I know is an important thing, 100% of our sixth formers receive university offers. We have a very high A-level pass rate, strong GCSE pass rate, and our IELTS is very, very good. Personal development is very important, but of course, without the academic certificate, it doesn't necessarily translate into success. We're very focused on making sure it's important. We are a globally minded school with students from around the world, and there's always if you landed somewhere overseas, you'd certainly be able to get hold of our contact book and find a friendly face who's been bugged with before. So it's a great opportunity to expand that network. Additional services we offer a full-time on-site health service. We have assistance as and when the visa centres are open to help you with your visa applications and immigration processes. There's a system of weekly reporting. We can administer UK residency arrangements, make those appointments to get your BRPs, and there's lots of information that comes out on a weekly basis. We also have a 24-hour customer service through our admissions team, who are multilingual and here to help. And of course, we can arrange transport to and from the airports, especially in this COVID era we're living through. We have contracted with transport agencies to be able to make sure that any transfers to and from airports are COVID safe. So that leads me finally here to what we're doing for COVID-19. Well, you've got the badge there, the COVID Safe Charter. We're working closely with Robin Fletcher and the Boarding Schools Association. We're also working with our local MP and with the Department for Education, Public Health England, to make sure that all the protocols are in place, such as a dedicated pickup from the airport, regular hand washing. We've partnered with a lab called Oncologica that provides testing for all of the National Health Service doctors and nurses to make sure that any student, when they arrive, they will be tested for COVID. And as one of my colleagues said, they would be negative. However, if they were positive, then we've got this isolation set up ready. There is a quarantine still in place from Nigeria, so the school will be opening earlier from August 24th, so that students can come in and quarantine here at school on our side. We're looking at also giving students a wearable, like a sort of Fitbit thing, that allows us to track and trace them around the school should somebody test positive, and therefore minimize the interruption to education should that be the case. But the key is here, it's prevention rather than cure. So regular hand washing, temperature checks upon arrival. We do have day students coming in, and as such, they will be checked daily. In the boarding houses, there will be daily temperature checks, non-contact ones. And we have our nursing staff who are ready and available and to be able to help. The school's been configured. We have small class sizes, so students will be able to attend their lessons as normal, But should they have to move off to a blended situation, we have worked hard through Microsoft Teams this last term to be able to provide education to people who are not. So that's sort of Buxwood. That is what we're doing, and that is the view from the school. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So one thing I noted during your presentation is that Buxwood School offers various academic routes. So you offer, for university preparation courses, you offer the A-level program, IB, and a foundation program. And I think, you know, that's a very sound marketing strategy for families, for students who are a bit undecided about, you know, what program they feel they would be well suited for. As an educational agency in Nigeria, we find that we recruit a lot of students for university preparation courses. We do have some families who want to send their children to the UK at an early age, you know, but a lot of the time we found that our clients want their children to complete secondary school in Nigeria, and that's for a duration of 6 years. So they would complete either WAEC or IGCSEs and come to the UK either for A-levels, IB, or foundation. So it's great that you have all three academic routes available at Buxwood School. We are now extremely pressed for time, so I'm going to pass across to Julian of Oswestry School. And yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Anne-Marie. Thank you very much, and warm welcome to everybody. I shall keep this short. You find me taking a short break away from school at the moment, so I don't have any slides to share. So it will be a shorter presentation, I hope. Oswestry School is a small school, 350 pupils in the senior school, 11 to 18, but we run from 4 years old through to 18 years old. We're approximately 20% overseas students in a large 60-acre campus on the border of England and Wales, close to Chester. We are a very old school, in fact, one of the oldest in the UK, more than 600 years old. We were founded in 1407. We've got a long history of really, really strong pastoral care, and also a long relationship with African families, particularly in Nigeria. In fact, Rose's daughter, Tayo, came to Oswestry School some years ago, and we have a number of Nubi Education students with us year on year from that strong link. Sports provision is particularly strong at Oswestry School. Our football especially, one of the top 10 independent football sides in the country, with really good coaching support available to all. Moving on to look at our September arrangements, we are very much open for business. We are looking for a near normal provision, so face-to-face teaching is expected in the main, but we've had some excellent online provision throughout the last 3 months, and we could resort to that if we needed to, but we very much want to get back in the classroom, following as we will all of the necessary regulations, supported as we are by the BSA, Boarding Schools Association, and the COVID Safe Charter. Our preparations have been thorough. We've got a quarantine arrangement from the 24th of August available to any families that might need that, and the pupils will be well supported in our boarding houses. We also have isolation provision organised for anybody who might need it following a positive test or symptoms showing. Temperature checking daily will be ongoing, testing as necessary, but again, repeating messages from my colleagues, it's very much about preventative approaches through good hygiene, social distancing exercises throughout the school, such that we will be a very safe place. And I think all of our boarding schools will be very safe environments for your children come September. Oswestry being in Shropshire, we've had a very, very low incidence of COVID in the area, and it continues to be very, very low. Looking ahead to half term, We always keep our boarding houses open at the half terms, and of course we will be doing so again. So if boys and girls do not want to travel home at half term, we'll be very happy to accommodate them in our boarding houses. I think that's probably enough from me. Thank you very much. Anne-Marie, you.
Thank you very much, Julian. So I would like to say a very big thank you to all of our boarding school representatives who delivered presentations in this session. Your presentations were very informative and I believe will definitely provide the families who are logged into this session with reassurance that UK boarding schools are committed to continuing education at a quality level for students in spite of the current global situation, and you have rigorous health, safety and hygiene protocols in place to ensure that there's no transmission of the virus. In addition, it's also great to know that students will be able to quarantine on your boarding school campus. It's great to know that you're providing quarantine facilities, 2 to 3 weeks before term is to resume in September. And as I mentioned previously, some families are quite worried as to whether their children will be able to resume for the autumn term on time in September. And so I'm sure they would also be happy to know that a hybrid model of learning would be made available and students will be able to continue with their studies online if they're not able to travel in time. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A session, and I am going to read out some questions that we've received. Okay, so we have one parent who whose inquiry is directed at Henrietta Lightwood for Cardiff Sixth Form College. Okay, so she wants to know if Cardiff Sixth Form College will be providing online learning for students.
Yes, thank you for that. As people possibly know, the UK government have said that they would like everybody to come back physically to the UK in September. So all schools, in fact actually quite a lot of our schools have already opened, and about 26 of our schools in London have already opened, for instance, as part of deep education. So we're all aiming really to get everybody physically back in September and keep them as safe as they can, because naturally though a great stopgap, online education is not the panacea really. It is, as everybody knows, so much better when you're within the environment surrounded by other students, being taught properly. So that's our aim. However, and there is a but here, if students are physically unable to come to the UK, and that means that borders are closed or they're unable to get visas, and I know that in Nigeria the visa offices are closed at the moment, or they actually have COVID-19, for instance, then we will be offering online education to run alongside. But it is definitely not something we're doing as well as, unless we have to, because we don't believe the educational provision will be as good as it would be if students coming physically to the school.
Thank you very much, Henrietta. Another question I received, so I'd just like to mention to the delegates that unless I say, this question is directed at this individual, the question is open to be answered by whoever wants to address it. So this question, again, is open to any delegate. It's what will schools do with a student that falls ill or shows COVID-19 symptoms? Who would look after the student? Would the student be sent to a hospital? If so, would it be a private hospital or would it be a National Health Service, NHS hospital? So this question is open to any delegate.
I can take that from a budget
Thank you,
standpoint.
Kevin. Okay.
So Public Health England advice is that if someone becomes unwell with testing positive for COVID-19, unless they're requiring medical treatment, they're not going to go to a hospital. They would be tested on the NHS, so a testing kit would be dispatched and they would be tested within time frames we've been told is within 24 hours, the test would come back. That's whether it's positive or negative. If it's positive, here at school, as I said, we've got a property that is about a quarter of a mile off the road, off the site, just up the road from us, that school owns. That would be our isolation house. It would be staffed by residential staff, and the student there would be looked after. They would be in a bedroom with a private bathroom, and meals would be brought to them. For the 14-day quarantine period that is managed, sorry, 7-day. If you test positive as an individual, you have a 7-day period of isolation. In terms of their learning and their academics, because we've got the internet connectivity, they would be able to access the learning through Microsoft Teams, and their care, our nursing staff would also provide any medical support that they would need at that situation. That's how our approach is in line with what public health thinks. It's the same way if a child at home were to feel unwell, they wouldn't go to a hospital. If, however, they became unwell and needed medical treatment, here at Buxton, we are about 10 minutes away from the Conquest Hospital, National Health Service Hospital. It also has a private wing, but that would depend upon whether the family had private health insurance. They would have access.
Thank you so much, Kevin. So yes, Kevin, you also touched on another question that we received from a parent with regards to medical insurance. So this parent wants to know, in view of the pandemic, would schools say it is necessary for parents to buy medical insurance for their children before arriving in the UK?
I think it's always a smart thing to have insurance in anything you're going to do. We did speak with some insurers. At present, there is no medical insurance that we're aware of that covers specifically COVID-19. So in terms of being able to get insurance for that, you'd have to speak to your insurers. But we've spoken to some, and they indicate that that's not a coverable condition at present. As part of any visa application, there's a fee the UK government levies upon people coming to be able to access the National Health Service. So you would have access to our National Health Service anyway as part of the visa process. In terms of our advice to get additional insurance on top of that, I think it depends upon each family's circumstances. So I wouldn't be sort of saying everybody should get insurance, no, but it would be checking with your insurer as to whether specifically COVID-19 is covered.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Okay, another question I received. Okay, we have we've received some concerned. We've received calls from some concerned parents, you know, who have this worry that there's going to be a spike in COVID-19 cases during the winter months. Now. This parent wants to know what will happen if there is another outbreak, you know, in the Ember months, and how will schools cope? So Kevin has been wonderful. Direct this question to somebody else. So what happens if there's another outbreak, and how will schools cope?
Anne-Marie, I'm happy to take that. Julian here.
Thank you so much, Julian.
Our understanding at the moment, my understanding at the moment, we've had to follow advice from the government. So Public Health England have been advising us all the way through this pandemic, and we responded previously by closing our schools at the government's request, and that might be the response again. But I think the direction of travel that the government is following at the moment suggests they don't want to follow that path. We're working more closely at testing more regularly and getting more clarity about how the virus is moving through our community, if at all. So I think the likelihood of closing schools again is lower, much lower than it was previously, because of the preparedness of the government and schools. But that possibility still exists, and we have, of course, demonstrated that we can deliver very fine online provision if we need to. But as my colleagues have said, we'd much rather be in school, and we will be in school as long as it's possible to be so safely.
Thank you very much, Julian. Another question I received is with regards to visa applications. This parent is asking if there are any documentary requirements that parents should be aware of when submitting visa applications for their children. So, for example, would the student need to provide a COVID-19 test result certificate when applying for their Tier 4 visas?
I don't think so,
So
Anne-Marie.
this
I
is
think it's standard application procedure for Tier 4, no reference required to COVID as far as I'm aware.
Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, and sorry. Okay, and a parent says, I know, each one of you has, mentioned how, you would manage social distancing, by either reducing class sizes or, having one flow of traffic in your corridors, or having single occupancy rooms for your boarders. This person is, her question is with regards to organizing bubbles of students within the classrooms and boarding houses. So she says, she's heard this term bubbles, mentioned, and she just wants to get an accurate understanding of what exactly it entails. Yes.
Well, I'll start with answering that one. And
thank you, Henrietta.
Answer it from the perspective of Wales. So we just have to remember that we probably need someone else to answer on the perspective of England. But from Wales's point of view, the Welsh Government have agreed that boarding houses can act as bubbles. So basically what a bubble is really, it's a bit like a family group. So basically it means that people can be together and can learn together and can socialise together as a group. So basically the way that we'll be doing it in Wales is that we have 2 boarding houses. So each boarding house will act as a bubble, if you like, so that the students will be able to kind of, mix with other students, once they've come back from being tested. So it just makes it a lot more sociable, to be honest, and much easier for students, but also much easier from a teaching perspective, because it means that we can bring people together back into the classrooms together. So so that's really the way that bubbles will work in Wales. Does someone else want to come in on England?
Thank you, Henrietta.
I'll come in from our perspective, because we've got day kids coming in with boarding kids. So we're looking at this term bubble. It's now, you can use whole year groups or even key stages in terms of the size of your school. So we'll be looking at from our boarding provision. Each boarding house would be a family or a bubble, as Henrietta said. So they would be able to, outside of school, be completely interacting with each other so socially and closely. But during the academic time, we're going to be keeping our year groups or our key stages separate within their bubbles as per government guidance. That way, in lessons and things, they can do experiments by not having to stand a meter away from each other, for example, in a science lesson. And then it minimizes the potential of them coming across each other. It's essentially as though if you're a day student, you're going back home to your family unit at the end of the day, and so therefore your family unit is your boarding. Fairly similar.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So now I would like to ask any of the parents or students who are in the session if they have any questions that they just thought of and would like to be addressed. So could you please type your questions in the chat box, and I would read them out to the delegates. Okay, it doesn't seem like we're receiving any questions, but I mean, I would like to say to our parents and students that this session has been recorded, so Nubi Education will be sharing the recording with the individuals who were able to join the session, as well as, people who were not able to make it. I would like to say a very big thank you to all of our boarding school representatives for your detailed, informative and enlightening presentations. I have learnt, and I'm sure all our parents and students who logged in have learnt, that UK boarding schools will provide a safe environment for students come September 2020 and beyond. We've also learned that you have flexible intakes in place. You're being considerate of students who might not be able to travel to the UK due to travel or movement restrictions. And you are also making online provision available, to these students who are otherwise unable to travel to the UK. And it's just very reassuring to know that the needs of international students will be supported. International students are welcome to the UK come September 2020 and beyond, and they will be able to continue with their study goals uninterrupted. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass on to the Nubi Education Executive Director, Mrs. Rose Omonobi.
Hello, she's muted.
Yes,
Hello?
yes, I've just asked her to unmute herself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Anne-Marie. I must say that I am blessed. I learned so much today. It's a very informative session. I have visited many of your schools, and I didn't know what I know today of the schools that I visited. And I'm so impressed that you have all managed to cope with these difficult times. You've put together your contingency plans for students that are coming in September. I'm really impressed, and I know my parents will be very happy, because everybody, like I said in the beginning, are very worried. And many of you that know Nigerian markets know one thing about Nigeria is that Nigerian parents can invest for their children's education, but they are very, very protective parents. So the first thing that comes to their mind is safety when they are looking for school. And you have hit it, because some of us will like, if I'm a parent, I'm a Nigerian parent, I would like to have walls built around our children and high gates. So if you are able to tell us today that you provide safety for Nigerian parents. And also, one thing we didn't touch here, and which is also pressing to some parents, is the scholarship bit and the bursaries. What are the schools doing, knowing that this is a very difficult time? I know it's difficult for you too, because your income is not coming as it should be, but Nigerian parents are expecting some form of bursary, some form of discounts. Can you assure them that? Can you tell us what you have in this regard? Because they are waiting to hear that. I know I'm surprised Anne-Marie didn't hit that, because that's what we are getting. The exchange rate in Nigeria today is very close to 600 naira to a pound. Now, what used to be about 400 So that makes the UK boarding schools expensive. On our own part, we are very passionate about our students and parents and the aspirations. We always work hard to see that we meet them, we help them, assist them constantly, not just choosing the schools, getting them to go to the schools. We have worked out an arrangement. We have signed MOU with two banks in Nigeria, two leading banks in Nigeria, to assist our parents that have very good jobs and want to send their children to schools abroad. So they can, they have good job, good income stream, but they cannot pay the fee upfront. So the banks are ready to give them some bridging finance and some loans. So we are trying that way to help our students. And we also will be happy to know that the schools are also trying to help in that direction.
Yeah, well, we've done slightly flexible payments. So interestingly, our parents have managed to pay the fees, and they've either done it in instalments, so they may have split up their money, or we provide an online credit card service. And again, people have often done that in 3 different payments. But actually, we haven't had an enormous problem with people actually paying the fees. They have managed to move the money. So it is a difficult one, of course, because schools do cost fees. But most schools in the UK actually have frozen their fees. Quite a lot have frozen their fees for September 2020 entry. I don't know if anyone else has got anything else they wanted to add on that.
I'll just second that and confirm everything that Henriette is saying there. I mean, we've frozen fees, but everything remains the same, really. I mean, discounting at this stage isn't a trade-off, or it's not going to encourage people to suddenly feel more safe in what we're doing. We offer scholarships. Scholarships will always be academically tested because it's fair to all in that particular respect. Bursaries, we don't tend to do too many of, but ultimately they're all done on a case-by-case basis, and everyone's always willing to have a conversation about something, but they're not immediate from the outset. In terms of the response at this moment in time, considering the situation, it is, yes, the right thing to do to freeze things as they are at the moment, and to come up with flexible payment plans that can be extended over a longer period of time, which is often what helps. But at the end of the day, schools and fees will always remain the same in that respect.
Rose, at Padworth, we have academic scholarships available up to 50% of the fees, and we can also offer bursaries on a means-tested basis. So I'll send some information to Anne-Marie after this event, but those are both available still.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and for the parents, Anne-Marie, like Anne-Marie said to you, we're going to be sending you the recordings. Some of you have registered and not here. We send you the recordings all the same. And we're going to send these recordings to our schools, our local schools. I'm happy that Anteru is here from CIS. CIS is one of the leading secondary schools in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to be sending this to our boarding schools that we work very closely with, so they can also send to their parents. And for the parents that took their time to come today, I say big thank you. Know that we are always there to help you. We're always there to assist you. So if you want a virtual meeting with any of the partners here today, please let us know. We can arrange it for you. It's good to have one-on-one with them. And we continue to strive to help our parents. And so Nubi Education is saying a big thing. You have been supportive to us as well. Your word of mouth publicity has helped to take us to this success story. So we thank you so much, because you have been there for us. And for our partners, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And we hope that the applications will start coming now, that the parents know that it's safe for them to send their children to UK. So parents, we want the application rolling now. Thank you so much. Okay, there's one last thing, sorry. The WAEC has been postponed for, well, indefinitely now. I know that it doesn't so much affect the boarding schools because many of your students come with IGCSE. And if a student is coming with WAEC, you know, your admission is based on the WAEC results because she hasn't done IGCSE or is not registered for IGCSE. What do we do for such a student coming into planning to come and study in the
we would certainly just take predicted grades in that situation. You know, we recognise that there's a reality there, and they'll have reports from their school in terms of what they've been doing, studying until that point. So we'd be happy to take that at that point.
Yeah, likewise in that respect, we rely a little bit on the schools to actually guide us in terms of whether a student is capable to go on and do what they're looking to go on and do. So we're looking at predictions and a bit of referencing from the school in order to help us there.
And we take entrance exams anyway, so so we would test students in the subjects that they wanted to study, in this particular case for A level, in the 4 subjects they want to study.
All right, thank you so much. We have another session coming by 2. We have been running this since June. We had the first visual information session in June. This is July, starting today in July. And we have one in August. And by October, we actually had our fair scheduled. Okay, Henrietta, you were supposed to be at that fair. We scheduled our fair for March, but we couldn't. So we postponed to October. And I hope we'll be able to do face-to-face in October. If not, we just go visual as well.
I hope so too. And thank you very much to you all, and I know from all my colleagues as well. Thank you so much for organising it. It's been really, really appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.